we have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti Podcast. Harmony is stillness, a harmony between the body, the heart, and the mind. Complete harmony. Hello and welcome to episode 300 of Urgency of Change. The Krishnamurti Podcast features carefully selected extracts from Krishnamurti's recorded talks. Each episode highlights his different approaches to universal, timeless subjects that affect our everyday lives, the state of the world, and the future of humanity. This episode's theme is harmony. Look out for season 8 of the podcast, beginning in September. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust, based at Brockwood Park in Hampshire, UK. Brockwood is also home to Brockwood Park School, a unique international boarding school offering a personalised, holistic education inspired by Krishnamurti's teachings. Please visit brockwood.org.uk for more information. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on harmony has 4 sections. This first extract is from the third discussion in Saanen 1971 and is titled, What is Harmony?
The gentleman said you have been talking mostly about the mind and rather neglecting the heart and the body, the organism. So he says, please go into this whole question of harmony between the three. So what do you mean, what do we mean by harmony? Balance, not contradiction, not in opposition, not fragmented. All the three working simultaneously, easily, without any friction. A sense of unity, not compelled, not directed, not controlled, but flowing easily, harmoniously, fully, deeply, without any sense of distortion. Would you say that is somewhat by what we mean harmony? Would you agree? Would you say that? In which the mind, the capacity to think neurotically or sanely, objectively or subjectively, which doesn't pull in opposite direction from the heart, and the heart doesn't pull in opposite direction from the, and so on. So that there is no contradiction, there is no tension, there is no sense of imbalance between the three. Right? Do we see, understand verbally what we mean by harmony? Do we agree to that? The definition, I'm only defining. We're not saying what it is or what it is not. We're just examining the word harmony. Then, are we harmonious? Taking the mind being the brain, thought, the intellect, with all the memory experience stored up, and the heart, that's the façon de parler, vous savez, heart, and the heart, not desiring one thing and suppressing it, suppressed by the mind, not being jealous, not envious, quiet, that sense of richness, beauty, perfume, love, a sense of, heightened perception. And the body, quiet, functioning easily, not having eaten too much or too little, not too much indulgence or too much restraint, eating the right kind of food so that the stomach, the intestines, and everything functions easily with some fullness, right? Do we live that way? Let us take the fact, actually what we are. For most of us, there is no harmony in the sense we have used that word, between the mind, the body, and the heart. Because most of us are torn apart. We overindulge, we eat the wrong kind of food, our bodies have been neglected, and therefore it has lost its intelligence. And we smoke, we drink, we drug, you follow? The whole of that. Overactive, overstimulated, sexually, and the heart never constant, never steady, pursuing emotional expressions, satisfying demands, and so on. Jealous, envious, comparative. And the mind living in the past. What a lovely day it was yesterday. What lovely memories I had when I was young. The whole of that. That's our life, isn't it? No? Is that the life of the older people? And is that the life of the younger people? Are the younger people different in that sense than the older people? Are the younger people living a harmonious life? Or a life of laisser-aller, permissive, a life of revolt against the established order? And revolt is not revolution, right? So Do we start ideologically saying we must be harmonious, having the definition and making that into a formula, a concept, and then trying to live according to that? Or take facts as they are, that one does live rather a shoddy, unhealthy, contradictory, distorting life, sexually and mentally incapable of consecutive thought and reason capacity? That's the fact, isn't it? Do we take facts as they are, as we are, or do we pursue an ideal of what harmony is and try to imitate that? Go on, sir. If I have a concept of harmony, you understand what that word concept, to conceive a formula, to project an idea of what I should be, live a harmonious life. And the projection becomes the ideal. And according to that ideal, projected by my desire to live a harmonious life, and trying to live according to that formula, concept, there is this constant imitation of what I should be. And therefore in that there is conflict, isn't there? Right? So, the very conflict is disharmony. Right? Isn't that so? That is, I have an ideal that I must lead a kind of life, eat the right food, not drink, not whatever it is. After experimenting with myself, I must not. And I must have a loving heart. And I mustn't be jealous, I mustn't be envious, I mustn't be ambitious, I must be a vegetable. And I mustn't live in the... You follow? All these are projections of what I should be. Right? Right? Do please. This is your... And the ideal is fictitious, is not a reality, but what is a reality is what is. Right? Can we start there? Now, my question is, how am I, who live a life of disharmony, how am I to live a harmonious life? Not how am I to copy a harmony. You understand the difference? Are we clear on this? We are not discussing what should be, what kind of ideals we should have, and live according to that ideals. That is the culture in which we have been brought up. And if you are really young, you are in revolution, not in revolt. Therefore, you seeing the falseness of ideals, then you deal with what is. Right? So, reject, please bear in mind, we are discussing this. We are rejecting the harmonious ideal of life. But we are talking over together whether it is possible to live now a harmonious life. If you have an ideal, you are trying to imitate that ideal. And where there is imitation, there is not only conformity, there is conflict, there is fear that you are not living up to your standard. So you feel inferior. So all the complexity of inferiority. From that inferiority, all kinds of neurotic actions. So when you understand really the falseness of ideals, then you see actually what you are. Right? Is that clear? Can we start from there? Or do you want to start with ideals? Please, don't come back to ideals. You are finished with it. That's the game of the old people. Sorry, the old people. So, one lives a distorted, a life in which there is no harmony, a life of contradiction, a life of hypocrisy, thinking one thing, doing another, saying something else. All those are indications of contradiction, imbalance, a life of no harmony. That is the fact. Now I want to find out how to change that fact, not how to become the ideal which I have projected. You see the difference? I am concerned with changing what is.
The second extract is from Krishnamurti's 7th talk in Saanen, 1972, and is titled Insight Brings Harmony.
What is a religious mind? What is a religious way of living? I think we should go into this because it's a vital question. As love, as death, sorrow, and human relationship. It is as important, perhaps if not more important, than all these, to find out for oneself what it is to live a life which is truly and deeply religious. The word religion means to, I looked it up the other day in the dictionary, and it says tie together. And the word yoga, perhaps you know all that word, do you? Most of you? All right. Also means join together. Like two oxen are yoked. So religion, in the ordinary dictionary meaning, and yoga imply the same thing. That is, bring together, tie together. Yoke the higher part to the lower part. The spirit and matter. And so on. First of all, that implies division. When you say bring together, join together, tie together, implies that there is a division in existence. Why is it that we have divided life into a religious and non-religious life, spirit and matter, the higher and the lower? Why is there such fragmentation in our existence? That there is the mind, the heart, and the body. And this division has existed throughout the ages. They don't treat it as a whole. They treat it as a thing that is divided and must be brought together. That implies, the bringing together implies, doesn't it, an outside agency or an agency in yourself. Please follow this little bit if you are interested in it. And we are sharing this together. It implies an outside agency that will bring the divided, fragmented existence together through a religious activity, through yoga, through meditation, through various forms of exercises, control, and so on. Now, is there such a division? Or thought has divided existence, life, as separate from the higher state of thought. Thought obviously has invented the higher state. No? The soul. As the Hindus call it, the Atman, and so on. Thought has brought about this. Thought is responsible for this division. And not being able to bring this together, not being able to bring about a total harmony, it then invents a superior entity which is going to integrate the various fragments. Now, that integrating factor is called God, outside agency, or your own will, and so on. One can see that one needs a total harmony. That is a harmony between the mind, the intellect, the capacity to reason logically, sanely, and the heart, which is to have compassion, love, kindliness, consideration, and the physical, with all its complexities, one can see there must be a harmony. Then only the total existence can function healthily. Right? And we are asking, is religion that is based on belief, on an insight of the few who have established a church, organized priesthood, and so on? Is this structure, or can this structure bring about harmony in you? Or it has nothing whatsoever to do with belief? You're following all this? It has nothing whatsoever to do with any savior, with any guru, with any sense of an outside agency or an inward effort to bring about harmony. Am I making myself clear? You look rather puzzled, don't you? All right, I'll put it this way. For myself, I see that the mind with the brain can function only when there is complete harmony inside. Total harmony, not fragmentary harmony. Now, how is this to be brought about? I don't know how, but people say, religions say, authority asserts that there must be an agency outside of you. God, whatever name you like to give to it. And if you could concentrate on that, give your life to that, believe in that, perhaps you can bring about this extraordinary quality of harmony. They don't put it this way, I'm putting it that way. Now, belief is this conceived by thought. Belief is the result of thought and fear. I see that. Therefore, I reject total all belief and therefore all authority. Right? There's no guru, no teacher, no savior, nobody outside that can bring about this extraordinary state of harmony. And I realize harmony is not integration of the various fragments. To bring about integration, that is, to put together the various broken parts, implies there must be an entity who, through an act of will or desire or urgency, can bring this integration about. That is, again, a fragmentation. You're following all this? So, I reject that too. Do you understand? I reject belief. I reject authority. The whole structure of a religious organization based on authorities, all that goes. Then how is the mind to bring about this harmony? Because I see that is essential. To be healthy, to have tremendous energy, and to have a mind that is extraordinarily clear. Right? Are you following all this? Is harmony to be a thing to be cultivated? Right? Cultivation implies time, isn't it? I need time to cultivate a plant. So I say I need time to cultivate this harmony. Either through various forms of exercise. Are you following all this? Give your mind to it a little bit, please. Share this together with me. Either through various forms of exercises, mental, physical, or through control, or set a course and follow that course, which is the action of will, right? I see that the mind, the brain, and the heart, and the physical entity can function beautifully, easily, smoothly, when there is complete sense of the whole, in which there is no division. I see that very clearly. First I see it, perhaps intellectually, verbally, and I realize that has no value. Then how does the mind bring this about? Does this question mean anything to you? Because this is the religious life. Not the belief in gods or disbelief in God, or have your own experience of various attitudes, various visions, experience. To me, that's not a religious life. So I have got to be very clear. I have to find out what it means to live a religious life. Because I feel if that can be brought about or comes into being, then my action at any level will always be harmonious, not contradictory. So my mind has rejected the whole structure of belief, which is based on fear and therefore illusion. Right? You're sharing this with me, please. We are walking together, thinking together, creating together, and therefore establishing between ourselves the right communication. And therefore I reject also completely any authority. Because it's still outside of myself. It is still the act of thought which seeks guidance from another. So that brings about a division and hence a conflict. What I should do according to what another says and try to conform to the pattern set by another. Therefore that brings about a conflict and therefore disharmony. You're following all this? Then I ask myself, will any act of desire, which is will, bring this about? Because will plays a great part in our life. Will is based on choice, on decision. I will do this and I will not do that. Will, that is, the concentration of desire, plays extraordinary part in our life. Haven't you noticed it? I must do this. I must not do that. I will follow this. And this constant decision is part of our existence. And I see where there is the act of will, there must be division. And therefore conflict. And where there is conflict, there can be no harmony. You're following all this? So, is there a way of living without the action of will? As I said, will comes into being when there is choice. And choice exists when there is confusion. And you do not choose, you do not decide when you see things very clearly. Then you act, which is not the action of will. Right? So, I am asking myself, why is it my mind cannot see clearly? All the time, not on vague, uncertain occasions. All the time function clearly. Why do you think your mind doesn't function clearly? First of all, it's confused. It's confused because our conditioning, which is the past, meets the present and is not capable of understanding the present. And life being so uncertain, people asserting, the authorities asserting so many things. Work for this, don't work for that, this is true, this is false. That dozen gurus telling you what to do. And we're caught in all that. also confusion exists because we want clarity. You understand? We want clarity. We want to reach the other shore where we think there is clarity. Right? So, we're always making life, which is this shore, into a problem. Because I want to get over there, where I think I'm going to be perfectly happy. Sitting next to God or entering in nirvana or liberation or whatever it is. So the other shore makes the problem. And that's one of the causes of confusion. I wonder if you follow this. So, I have an insight, there is an insight into this question of the action of will. Have you got that insight as we are talking? Therefore, there is no conflict in the mind. It acts when there is insight. Action is insight, not the action of will, or belief, or fear, or greed. You follow? It's the insight into seeing, the insight that comes when you observe very closely this pattern of existence established by will. When you have an insight into that, your action is entirely different. And therefore, non-contradictory. And hence, that insight brings harmony. You're following this? I have no insight because I live in the past. Your life is the past, isn't it? Your remembrances, your imaginations, your contriving is based on the past. So our life is the past, which through the present, modified, becomes the future. So, as long as you live in the past, there must be a contradiction. And hence, conflict. You're following all this? So, harmony comes into being when you have insight into all this. Now, you know, we are educated to control, right? Aren't you? To control ourselves. Or, having been educated in the structure of control, you say, you discard all that and go to the extreme, which is happening also. And control implies, again, division. Right? The controller and the thing controlled. The controller says, this must happen. I must do this. I must not get angry. I must be all that. So there is a controller and the thing he is trying to control. And hence a division. Is the controller different from the thing he is controlling? Or both are the same? Of course, both are the same. And not being able to go beyond the thing controlled, thought invents the controller. And hopes thereby to go beyond the thing which he is trying to control. You get all this? I'm angry. And I say I must not be angry. That is, instantly there is a division. But the entity that says I must not be angry is part of anger. Otherwise you couldn't recognize it as anger. Therefore, the controller is the controlled. When I have an insight into that, that is the division that exists when there is an act of will through control. In that division there must be strife. When I have an insight into that, there comes a totally different kind of action which is not controlled or without any restraint. Right? See what my mind has done. I have an insight into belief. I have an insight into will. I have an insight into control, authority, measurement. You follow? And that is our social, educational, religious structure. Right? That is our cultural background. Religious, ethical, moral, social, and that's based on that. And having an insight into that, I drop, there's the cessation of all that. Right? When I see something false, when there's a perception of something dangerous, it is dropped. You run away from it. So, the false, the untrue, creates disharmony.
The third extract is from the 7th talk in Saanen, 1971, and is titled Complete Harmony.
See, we are asking, what is intelligence? Is intelligence cultivable? Is intelligence innate? And does thought see the truth of conflict, division and all the rest of it? Or It is the quality of mind, I've got it. It is the quality of mind that it sees the fact and is completely quiet with the fact. Completely silent with the fact. Not try to go beyond it, overcome it, change it, but completely still with the fact. It is that stillness that is intelligence. Got it? So intelligence is not thought. Intelligence is this silence. And therefore totally impersonal. Doesn't belong to any group, to any person, to any race, to any culture. So, I have found, mind has found, that where there is silence, not put together by thought and discipline, practice and all that terrible horror, but seeing that thought cannot possibly go beyond itself, because thought is the result of the past, and where the past is functioning, it must create division, and therefore conflict, sorrow, and all the rest of it. Seeing that, and remaining completely still with that. You know, it's like being completely still with sorrow. You know, somebody whom you love or for whom you care, whom you have looked after, cherished, loved, concerned with, when that person dies, there is the shock of loneliness, despair, sense of isolation, everything falls round you. In that sorrow, to remain with it, not seeking explanation, the cause, why should he go and why not I? To remain completely still with it. To remain with it completely still is intelligence. And that intelligence then can operate in thought, using knowledge. And that knowledge and thought will not create division. I've got to get in it. So the question arises from that, how is the mind, your mind, which is so endlessly chattering, listen to this, please listen to it, which is so endlessly bourgeois, caught in a trap, struggling, seeking, going after the masters and, gurus and disciplining. How is that mind to be completely still? Now, harmony is stillness. Harmony, not discord. Harmony between the body, the heart and the mind. Complete harmony. That means the body, your body, must not be imposed upon by the mind, disciplined by the mind. Disciplined by the mind when it likes certain kind of food, tobacco, drugs, you follow? The excitement of all that. Being controlled by the mind. Then it is an imposition. Whereas the body, when it is sensitive, alive, has its own intelligence. Not spoiled. One must have such a body. Terribly alive, sensitive, active. Not drugged. And also, one must have a heart. You understand? Not excitement. Not sentiment. Not emotion. Not enthusiasm. But that sense of fullness, depth, quality, vigor, that can only when there is love. And a mind that has immense peace. Then there is harmony. Now, how is the mind, listen to this, to come upon this? I am sure you're all asking this. Perhaps not sitting there, but when you go home, when you walk, when you're looking at how can one have this sense of complete unity, integrity, without any sense of distortion, division, fragmentation? The body, the heart, and the mind. How do you think you can have it? Now, you see the fact of this, don't you? You see the truth of it. That you must have a complete harmony in yourself. Mind, the heart, the body. It's like having clear window, unspotted, without any scratch, unsullied. Then, as you can look out through a window, you can see everything without any distortion. Now, how can you have it? Now, who sees this truth? You're following? Who sees the truth that there must be this harmony, complete harmony? As we said, when there is harmony, there is silence. When one of the three becomes distorted, there is trouble. There is noise. But when the mind, the heart, and the organ are completely in harmony, there is silence. Now, who sees this fact? You understand my question? Do you see it as an idea, as a theory, as something you should have? If you do, then it is all the function of thought. Then you will say, tell me what the system, what kind of system I must have to get this. I will practice, I will deny, I will discipline, I will cook myself brown. All that is the activity of thought. But when you see the truth of this, the truth, not what should be, when you see that is the fact, it is so, then it is intelligence that sees it. Therefore, it is intelligence that will function to, and therefore bring about this state. You get it? Not thought. I can't do any more. So thought is of time. Intelligence is not of time. So intelligence is immeasurable. Not the scientific intelligence, not the intelligence of a technician, not the intelligence of a housewife, not the intelligence of a man who knows a tremendous lot. That's all within the field of thought and knowledge. And it is only when the mind is completely still, and it can be still. You don't have to practice, control. It can be completely still. And when it is, there is harmony, there is vast space and silence. And it is only then the immeasurable is.
The final extract in this episode is from Krishnamurti's talk in Rome 1972 and is titled Meditation Comes Only to a Harmonious Life.
See, we have divided living from dying. And living is within the field of time. And death to us is the end of living in time. So our mind is concerned greatly with time. Not only with the chronological time, by the watch, by the year and so on, but by the psychological time. And death is the ending of life, of the time known to the brain as living. And we never inquire what this living is. This living is pain, sorrow, pleasure, all the turmoil. And the ending of that is death and the fear of death. So, can the mind live a life psychologically without the tomorrow? That means living with death. It doesn't mean committing suicide. That is, not dividing living from dying. You can only live if you are dying every day to everything known. Psychologically. But if you separate living from dying, then there is fear. Then all the complexities of a mind that's constantly seeking security. The brain must have security, otherwise it cannot function efficiently, objectively. It must have complete security. But it cannot have that security if it is not enough food, if it hasn't enough a house, a shelter, if it has got to battle all the rest of one's life. And that's why, seeing the world as it is, there must be psychological revolution. And that's your responsibility. Because you are the world. And the world is you. If you don't change radically, no politician, no priest, no economics environment is going to bring about this tremendous change that is so absolutely necessary. And living a life in which there is no contradiction, no fragmentation between love, death, and the everyday living. From that naturally comes meditation. You know, there are so many schools of meditation. So many gurus teaching, or teachers, teaching methods, systems, practices. It's the greatest form of absurdity that is going around the world, that you must practice in order to meditate. Practice a system. Practice a method laid down by some absurd guru or teacher, especially if they are from the Orient. And they promise you, if you do these practices, that you will reach enlightenment, that your life will be radically changed. See how they have put the thing wrongly. That your life, if there is not a harmony, a life in which there is no division, from that grows, like a flower, the beauty of meditation. But to impose on a confused, conflicting, contradictory life a system of meditation which you hope will bring peace in your life, it is putting the horse before the cart. It's absurd. Totally, I can't find words for it. So, meditation comes only to a life that is totally harmonious. And that meditation means a mind that's completely still. And the stillness is not cultivated. It cannot be manufactured by thought. It comes naturally, sweetly, without any effort, if you know, if you have understood clearly how to observe without the interference of an image, a conclusion, an opinion. Then the mind becomes extraordinarily still. Now, the mind can go much further. It's like opening a door to something totally unknown. But to come to that door, you must understand yourself completely. And in the very understanding of yourself, there comes this harmony. And when you come to that door, what lies beyond can never be put into words. What is nameable, what can be put into words is not the real. What is described is not the describable. So the mind that can live totally, that means with love, with compassion, a mind that doesn't divide death, love and living. It's only to such a mind there can be this tremendous quiet, harmony, beauty and love.